To ensure the financial well-being and sustainability of our members and the wider community we serve, we wanted to share some relevant financial resources from our government, financial institutions, private organizations, and our local church. More importantly, we want to provide the professional and practical solutions to be implemented to ensure we can transition during this time. Many individuals are experiencing different levels of anxiety depending on the gravity of their matter. They lost their employment, reduction of time, have family to take care of. There are various scenarios out there, but we want to ensure that regardless of your scenario, we have some assistance here for you. Let's look at some of the relevant stats. There are many stats that are going on in the news right now. It's easy to be overwhelmed, but I wanted to surmise the few that we really need to pay attention to as we navigate these times. One, the requirement to self-isolate could last up to 18 to 24 months. In the best case scenario, they're predicting, and it's just a prediction, the mortality rates, if we continue to adhere to self-isolation, the mortality rates can be between 3 to 15,000. In the worst case scenario, if we don't obey the rules of self-isolation and controlling what we can control from social distancing standpoint, the mortality rates were predicted up to 100,000. And as it pertains to you specifically, as well as I, the financial relief period is going to be backdated from March the 15th, but it will only last until October the 3rd this year. Because the financial relief is only predicted to be offered by the federal government between March 15th and October 3rd, and we have to be quarantined up to 18 to 24 months, possibly, we definitely know that the relief that's being offered is going to be beneficial in the short run, but there are changes that we need to make on an individual basis to ensure that after that period, or even during this period, we can still take care of ourselves and our family. As a result of these announcements on Friday afternoon, I've heard sentiments such as fear, anxiety, and despair. But as people of faith, the Bible tells us God does not give us a spirit of fear. He gives us a spirit of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And once we apply these principles, hopefully before a scenario occurs, but even during a scenario, we can survive and even thrive through these times. And also assist others to navigate these times as well. Let's look at the Christian mindset. What we believe spiritually, we reinforce mentally and act on physically. And I want to talk about our spiritual mindset, more importantly, than the scenario that's going on. In order to go from receiving various financial reliefs to a state of financial recovery, we need to understand and believe three biblical principles. One, to everything there is a season. Two, God saves us in the storm, not just from the storm. Three, a crisis is an opportunity to show on the outside what we believe on the inside. And I'll repeat, to everything there is a season. God saves us in the storm, not just from the storm. And a crisis is an opportunity to show on the outside what we believe on the inside. And this gives me hope as a believer. Let's turn to the Word of God. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 through 8. And we know the text very well. To everything there is a season, and the Bible goes through the various scenarios. And after reading this text, three things jumped out at me as a believer that gave me hope, and I want to pass on these hope to you as well. Seasons are temporary. This too shall pass. And that's a good thing because we don't know the end, but we know it has to pass, right? So we just have to stay the course and trust God and do our best. Secondly, seasons guarantees change is coming. We're currently in winter. We know spring is coming. We can look forward to the spring in our lives, the changes that are coming. Seasons give us hope for the future. And seasons gives us a chance to plan. And that last point is very important. So for example, if you're a gardener and you have a nice garden and you know we're in winter, a true gardener will be planning right now for the spring. Taking care of their bulbs, knowing the rain, the sunshine, the layout, the length of the days. All these things we know because seasons don't last forever. Some people call it a crisis. The Bible, to me, calls it a season. The second point, God saves us in the storm, not just from the storm. Matthew 7:24 through verse 27 talks about a story we know very well, a wise man that built his house on the rock, and a foolish person that built their house on the sand. To me, this story became very real last year. September the 1st, 2019, a Category 5 storm hit the Bahamas, like none other. Over 200,000 kilometers per hour wind. And if you were to estimate that, if we are driving on one of our major highways right now, if we are driving 150 kilometers an hour, that's considered stunt driving, and the government will take your vehicle. And the speed of the wind was 250 kilometers per hour. And there was a tsunami-like scenario where the tide went out and came in, and in residential areas with houses that were one story, less than 20 feet high, houses were underwater. Storms happen. My parents, my hometown that I grew up in was completely destroyed. Almost 70,000 people were displaced. I had to bring my dad and my stepmom to Canada. Many of our church members know this. But just to let you know that storms happen and we still can hold on to God. And it could even get worse during those periods of time. My dad, within 1 month, found out that he had stage 4 cancer. And a few months ago in December, he passed. But what I learned in that storm, just like this storm or crisis, you can hold on to God. His faith never wavered. Even though he lost all of his earthly possessions and his health within a matter of months. And I'm saying to you as a testament to him and to what I've experienced, that through it all, God is great. The first point from storms that we have to realize that everyone gets the same test. The house that was built on the stone, as well as the one that was built on the sand, experience the same rain and wind. However, it takes a mighty storm to expose the foundation of our faith. Crises, seasons, tests are there to see whether we truly believe in God, not just from a theoretical standpoint, but from a faith standpoint. And the third point I've learned from this scenario is our foundation is more important than our facade. It's hard to see the foundation of someone's life, just like a house. It's underground. However, during a storm or during times as such, the beautiful outside or appearance that we tend to put up can easily be crumbled. And if our foundation is not sure, we can turn against God during these times. And what he is saying is that he is the foundation. Let our foundation be strong and he will carry us through these times. And thirdly, a crisis is an opportunity to show on the outside what we believe on the inside. Let's look at some stories that the Bible recorded. Esther solved the genocide and became queen when they wanted to destroy her people. Moses, we know with Egypt, led God's people from slavery. David, when the children of Israel were afraid of Goliath, he believed God, a little shepherd boy, and killed Goliath and became king. Joseph, we know his story very well, led Egypt through a 7-year economic crisis. We're only 1 month into this crisis. Egypt went through 7 years, and even Egyptians didn't listen to Joseph at that time. Jesus, more importantly, our Savior, solved the sin problem after our forefathers, Adam and Eve, had sinned, and now he's our King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So God's people, this is what I believe, and we should believe. God said it, we should believe it, and let's do it. Now, let's go into some of the financial relief options that were mentioned over the last month, and most recently with the announcements on Friday in regards to the federal government, municipal government, banks and lending institutions, mortgage companies, landlords, and our local church as well. And what I'm going to do now is basically preempt and read to you some of the solutions that are already in place in regards to the federal government and the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, which I use the acronym CERB, and various frequently asked questions. First of all, what is the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit? It's a temporary income support if you lost your job due to COVID-19. The benefit is available up to 16 weeks. It is designed to help Canadians who are not eligible for employment insurance. Also, workers who qualify for EI can qualify for the benefit as well, but you cannot receive both at the same time. And I will elaborate on that further. The CERB will be jointly administered by Service Canada and CRA, and they will work in collaboration with each other. The second question, how do I know if I am eligible for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit? First of all, you must be a resident of Canada, 15 years of age or older, having stopped working due to COVID-19, or are eligible for EI regular benefits or EI sickness benefits. You had to file a tax return within the last 12 months and who are or expect to be without employment or self-employment income. What situations does the CERB cover? You have been let go from your job and your hours have been reduced to 0. You are in quarantine, are sick, are caring for others, or caring for children or other dependents. To note, the CERB does not cover a situation where you quit your job voluntarily. Am I eligible for the CERB if I anticipate I won't be able to find work due to COVID-19? The benefit is only available to those individuals who stopped work as a result of reasons related to COVID-19. If you are looking for a job but haven't stopped working because of COVID-19, you are not eligible for the benefit. Frequently asked question number 5. How much does the CERB pay out? The CERB is paid in blocks of 4 weeks for a flat benefit of $2,000. The amount is taxable. However, they will not take the taxes before they give it to you. Next year, when you file your tax return for 2020 God's Fair Life, you will have to include this amount with your 2020 income. When can I apply? If you stopped working due to COVID-19 and the various scenarios that I mentioned before, you can apply for the CERB starting April 6th, and that's tomorrow. You will be able to apply online or over the phone. The Canadian government is asking us to apply on specific days of the week according to the month you were born. So you want to pay attention to these days. So if you're born January, February, or March, you can apply tomorrow being Monday. April, May, or June, you can apply on Tuesday. July, August, September, apply on Wednesday. October, November, December, apply on Thursday. And anyone can apply on the weekend, be it next Friday, Sabbath, or Sunday, if you don't want to apply throughout the week. But they have different days of the week depending on the month in which you were born. So once again, January, February, March, apply on Monday. April, May, June, apply on Tuesday. July, August, September, apply on Wednesday. October, November, December, apply on Thursday, and anyone can apply on the weekend. What documentation is required to apply? You need to have a valid social insurance number, a Canadian resident, and you must register for CRA My Account or direct deposit with one of your financial institutions. Most of the 5 major banks, given for example, TD, BMO, CIBC, especially those that do online banking, they're now sending emails out saying that you can register with them via the mobile app or directly on the website for direct deposits. So that once you apply for the CERB amount, the funds will be deposited directly into your bank account. Should I apply for CERB if I am currently receiving EI regular payments or employment insurance? The answer is no, you should not. You cannot receive the CERB and EI benefits covering the same period. However, if your employment insurance amount ceases before October the 3rd, then you can apply for the CERB if it's applicable to you, and you will receive the monthly allotment. Next question. Are the payments retroactive? And the answer is yes, based on your eligibility date. But they will not go back beyond March the 15th, but is based on your eligibility date. Next question. What happens if I become eligible for employment insurance, regular or sick benefits before March 15th, 2020, but did not apply for EI until March 15th? The same process will be applicable to you. So if you qualified for EI, you lost your job, and you did not apply And now the government is coming out with the CERB benefit. What they will do is they will start everyone with the CERB benefit, the $2,000 per month. Maximum they mentioned is 16 weeks. After that, you will not lose your eligibility as it pertains to employment insurance. Thereafter, you will get your EI payments. So in this case, because you qualify for both and you're not receiving any, they're saying you can still apply for both, but you will not receive both payments the same time. You will receive the CERB payments first. Once that is exhausted, then you will still be eligible for your employment insurance thereafter. Next question. Who is eligible for EI regular benefits or employment insurance? Those who have paid into employment insurance program and have worked a minimum of 420 to 700 insurable hours in the last 52 weeks are eligible, or within the last year. The precise number of hours required depends on where you live and the regional unemployment rate at the time you made the claim. So it's relative to everyone. As well, you have to prove that you lost your job through no fault of your own, and that you have been without pay for at least 7 consecutive days in the last 52 weeks. So the first week of non-payments since you became unemployed, they will not pay you for that amount. The government is sort of changing that and saying that they might, but historically, that's not the case. How much does EI regular benefits pay out? Recipients can expect between 14 and 45 weeks of payments worth up to 55% of their usual pay, or 573 per week, whatever is less. How much does EI regular benefits pay out? I will repeat. Recipients can expect between 14 and 45 weeks of payments worth up to 55% of their usual pay, or $573 per week, whichever is less. Is there a waiting period for EI benefits? The answer is yes. I mentioned that earlier, and it's typically 1 week. Who is eligible for EI caregiving and personal sick benefits? Those who have paid into EI or employment insurance and worked at least 600 hours in the last 52 weeks or 1 year. Question number 18. What documents or what documentation is required to apply for EI caregiving and personal sick benefits? First, you must request a record of employment from your employer. You can then apply online, or you can call, and this will be provided to you afterwards because we will be recording the session, but the number is 1-833-381-2725. That's 1-833-381-2725. Next question. Who is eligible for the child care benefit and COVID-19 changes? If you live with a child under 18 years of age, and if you are the primary caregiver for that child, if you are a resident of Canada for tax purposes, you will receive the CCB index payment. The Canadian government has increased the maximum annual amount for the 2019 to 2020 benefit year by $300 per child as part of its response to COVID-19. The government estimates the average increase for families receiving the CCB benefit will be $550. Families will receive extra benefits into their regular CCB payment in May. They may bring it forward, but for now, it's May. The GST, as announced on Friday, will be paid sometime in April, but it's not specific as yet. So we have the CERB, which is basically $200 a month, up to 3 months based on eligibility and the time frame. We have employment insurance, which is based on the length of time and the amount that you paid into your benefit through your work. We have the child care benefit, primary caregivers that have children 18 years of age and under living with them, Canadian taxpayer, and the GST as well. There's an amount that will be increased for the GST in April. There are also financial relief options from the municipal level. And because we live in different municipalities, such as Durham, York, Toronto, also on the West End as well, I gave a scenario from Toronto. Most of us probably will be living in the Toronto area, but please feel free to call your municipal office and they have similar type scenarios. So we have the Ministry of Child, Community, and Social Services, and they offer financial assistance when it comes to food, clothes, and shelter. They also offer emergency assistance as it pertains to your utility bills, because even while being home right now, our utility usage is actually higher. And even though we will be receiving the assistance of the $2,000 per month, our expenses are going up as well. Unfortunately, during these times, individuals might need domestic relief as a result of challenges within their family. Please contact the Ministry of Child, Community, and Social Service as well as once this relief period ends, be it October the 3rd, there might be individuals, low to middle income, that need assistance in finding a job. Once again, they provide also employment assistance and resources to help you to find some level of employment that's relevant, of course, within the scenarios and confines of social distancing at that time. At the level of the bank, for those individuals that have a mortgage, according to the major banks, up to 6 months deferral. So depending on your financial institution, and if your mortgage was up to date at that time, it's on a case-by-case basis. So you'll have to call your financial institution and negotiate with them, depending on your relationship as well, the longest deferral period that you can obtain from them. And deferral doesn't mean forgiveness or reduction. So they will probably add it on to the end of the amortization of your mortgage. So your monthly payments, once we get through this, might increase, or they have different options as well. Some individuals have a home equity line of credit where they use that amount and they only pay the interest payment in addition to their mortgage. That's an option. Once again, everyone's situation is different. Please contact your local bank for additional information. Credit cards, same thing as well. And loans. So once again, you want to contact your financial institution. They don't necessarily want to offer a solution, but they realize it's better to receive something at a later date than nothing at all. There's a point of contention when it comes to landlords and renters, because you have landlords from a commercial standpoint, apartment buildings, large commercial buildings, also individuals that rent in the confines of their home. The government mandated in March that for the immediate, no one should be evicted. However, They also mentioned that tenants and landlords should come together with some form of agreement, and the renters should pay their rent as much as possible. According to news reports, landlords are trying to advocate, especially the commercial landlords, that the $2,000 payment will be paid directly to them so that they will not be out in the cold as it pertains to providing shelter for their tenants. That is not what the government has done thus far. Tenants, on the other hand, according to a news report and a lobby group of almost 800,000 tenants across Ontario, what they're saying is that if they receive the money, they're gonna eat before they pay for rent. So according to those individuals, they're saying, if you cannot use our security, because most people have to put down first and last, or give us a significant reduction, then we will not pay, or we're gonna defer for as long as possible. So there are a lot of contention going on within the confines of landlord and tenants. So continue to pray as individuals of faith and Christians. Please use due diligence and remember that we still represent God in everything that we do, and try to approach your landlord and come up with the best solution that will enable you to navigate this time, as well as enable them to navigate this time as well. And our local church is doing what we've always done and continue to support our members as well as the community. Our food bank is still open. Of course, according to the government and the various rules, we have to adjust the times and how many individuals can be there, but we are still providing and assisting our members where we can, programs as such, as well as in critical situations, individuals can contact our leaders and they will help you navigate and come up with some solutions as well. But at the end of the day, we're trying to provide the information that can be accessed from the federal government, municipal government, provincial governments, lending institutions, private entities, nonprofit organizations, so that in the end, we can access these in financial relief options and modify our current budget and see how we can navigate these times. Now that we know of the financial relief or reliefs that are available to us, we need to look at our budget, because as mentioned by the government, October the 3rd is the last time in which we will receive some form of financial relief from the government. And they're predicting that the time frame could be 18 to 24 months. Even if it's 1 year, we still have to, in the confines of our personal budget, readjust things from essential to non-essential to needs, wants, and I'm going to go over some of those tips. What I want to show you here from a biblical standpoint, or as Christians, this is the prescribed percentage we should have within our budget. And if you look at these numbers, most people might say, wow, that's impossible. It is possible, but it requires some level of restructuring. According to financial professionals, such as myself, housing in an ideal situation should not account for more than 35% of your take-home income. Telecommunication, which is like phones, cable, internet, not more than 5%. Grocery, 10%. Transportation, 10%. Clothing, 5%. Medical, which is like co-pays, deductible, your various insurance, life, critical illness, various policies, disability. Personal expenses, like leisure, travel, subscriptions. Savings, 10%. Tithe and offering, 15%. As we look at these numbers, this is a good reference point. The numbers might not be the exact thing for you because of you might be a single person, a couple, a growing family, an extended family. However, if we keep within certain ratios as best as possible, it will enable us during times as such to navigate. For example, if we were gainfully employed, regardless of our income, if we have these percentages, and if we had the opportunity to set aside some level of savings, our emergency fund on a personal basis would have kicked in now, which we recommend as consultants 3 to 6 months. And so from April, May, June, ideally, panic wouldn't have set in as yet. So even though the government is actually giving the $2,000 per month, that could have enhanced your emergency fund as well. So what we are prescribing in the long run to recover is that even during these times, regardless of what is coming in, we have to now reprioritize these items that are within our budget. Certain things might have to go, certain things might have to be drastically reduced, but in order to survive, just like a ship, if it's going down, we have to throw off the cargo because life is more important than cargo. Okay, so let's look at the various scenarios, because on this call, there are individuals that are still working, probably working from home, income is the same. But the majority of individuals fall into this category, either reduced income, qualify for employment insurance because they lost their job, or self-employed, small business owner, contract workers, no income at all, depending on the scenario that they fall into. But we all need a solution. How do we employ these solutions? First of all, we need to go back and look at what I call percentages. I mentioned in the previous slide, if we look at our budget and we align housing, telecommunication, grocery, transportation, clothing, medical, personal expenses, savings, tithe, and offering, and if our percentages are higher than what's on the board, we need to find ways to bring those numbers within those ratios so that we are not spending more than what is coming in. So that's the first thing. And if you cannot do it by yourself, we also offering professional help as well for you in practical sessions coming up. Secondly, we have to prioritize, meaning we might not have the capacity from a budgetary standpoint, especially now, if you're an individual that's completely reliant on the $2,000 per month or EI, which is 55%, that certain things have to go. And we have to reprioritize what is first, second, and third. As individuals of faith, we know that tithe and offering comes first. Our personal savings come second, because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that our savings grow into an income that, if God spare our lives, typically 60 and beyond, 65 for the average Canadian, between our personal savings, what we receive from the government, be it the Canadian Pension Plan, Old Age Security, and the Guaranteed Income Supplement if you're a low to middle income worker, your employer pension plan or group savings plan. If we save with all these areas, we will have enough funds at that time to take care of our basic needs: food, clothes, shelter, as well as some leisure as well. If we don't, we will be in a permanent precarious situation as such for the rest of our lives. And we don't want to be in those type of situations. As well as positioning. First things first. How do we separate, let's go back here, needs from wants? So first of all, priority, positioning, and also percentage. From a positioning standpoint, I alluded to it earlier, what's first? Tithe, savings, shelter within a budget. So even though we pay for housing before we go on a vacation, housing shouldn't be 50%. Groceries, even though we have to eat, shouldn't be 15%. Transportation, even though we need to get back and forth to work, maybe someone has to take public transit while the other person drives to work. because transportation, believe it or not, if you look at the average household, for every adult, we tend to have one vehicle. One vehicle requires, if you're financing or leasing, a monthly payment of typically $300 to $450 per month. Insurance, on average, $150 a month if you're a good driver and older. So we have gas, because most people don't work where they live and we commute. Let's say that's another $250 a month. And then, so we have payments, gas, insurance, and maintenance. When you look at it from one vehicle, it can be between $800 to $1,000 per month. So we want to be careful in not just doing something, but what is the most efficient manner in doing it as well. I mentioned earlier, as we transition now closer to our question and answer period, we have provided a 5-question survey that's optional for our members, that's located on the church's website. So you can help us know how you are doing, and so that we can continue to design relevant content for you. It's there to give a litmus test to see how you're navigating this time as it pertains to your budget and cash flow management. If we can help from a professional standpoint, because myself, being a professional consultant in the industry for over 16 years now, I'm providing simple, clear information to you that you can either do on your own, work in consultation with someone that you know and trust that's professional, or if you want to follow up, I'll be happy to assist as well or facilitate other group sessions as well. But in the end, please do not take the information and set it aside. Information without application will never create change. We need to apply the information that's relevant to us so that we can move from a situation that's precarious, where we need external financial relief, to a situation where we can move to a place of financial well-being and sustainability. Because God is calling upon us to deal with the various seasons of our lives. And hopefully we plan before, so when we go through these seasons, we can help others navigate as well. And now I'm going to transition to Pastor Ellis, who will be taking your questions that you notated in the chat room, as well as directly on cue for any questions that you might have pertaining to the information I presented, or anything else in general pertaining to the topic. We want to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening. And now we want to hear from you. Pastor Ellis.
So thank you very much, Levardo, for that detailed presentation. For those of you that are coming in by phone, if you have a question, press *9 on your phone. It shows a little hand icon. I can then unmute you and you can then ask your question. If you're watching through the Zoom app and you're familiar with it, there is an actual raise your hand function. And if you do that as well, then I can take your questions. So again, dial *9 if you're using a phone, or press the raise hand app in Zoom, and then we can take your questions. In the meantime, while you're formulating your questions and you're raising your hand, I'm just going to share a comment that was posted by Carlene McCullough, and you might want to comment on this, Levardo. She mentions that low-income seniors will also receive an increase in their benefits from the federal government. So that's something that all of us can know and let share with our seniors as well. So if you have a question, or Levardo, do you want to provide any more comment on that?
No. Thank you so much, Carlene, for bringing that up. That's a great thing for us seniors, and thank you so much.
All right, and so now we're turning it over to you. Do you have any questions? Anyone, *9, and you can raise your hand, or you can raise your hand in Zoom, and I will see it, and I'll be able to unmute you. So this is your time. Please do so now. And we have a few questions coming in. So the viewer whose phone number ends in 8024, I'm unmuting you now. Please go ahead.
Hello. I don't know if this was covered, but my question is, it's Jeanette, if your hours of work has been reduced during this period, which benefit are you qualified for, EI or the CERB?
Good question. Thank you, Janet. And the question is, if your hours of work have been reduced to zero, which
Not to zero, just reduced.
reduced?
You
Okay.
still get some hours?
Okay, so you're currently employed then?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's for individuals that have lost their job. So according to the literature, it says, if you have been let go from your job, all your hours have been reduced to zero. And then it goes into whether you're in quarantine, if you're sick, or taking care of someone else. So in this case, because you're still gainfully employed, even though the hours are reduced, it's for those individuals, according to the literature that I have. That might change, but according to the latest information that I received as of Friday, that's the details of the information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have another person with a question. Their phone number ends in 5538. I am unmuting you now. You can go ahead, please.
Hello, I was just wondering if the percentages for the financial planning, the life financial planning could be repeated.
Okay. You mean the budget percentages?
Right.
Okay, I'll put it back up. Are you tuning in?
I'm on telephone.
Video or cell phone?
Phone.
Okay, so I'll repeat them for you. Housing, 35%. Telecommunication, 5%. Grocery, 10%. Transportation, 10%. Clothing, 10%. Sorry, 5%. Medical, 5%. Personal expenses, 5%. Savings, 10%. Tithe and offering, 15%.
Could you give an example of what you'd call the personal expenses?
So personal expenses are gym membership, vacation, you want to buy yourself an electronic, stuff that you basically buy that's optional from a consumer standpoint.
Thank you so very much. God bless you.
You're welcome. God bless you.
Okay, and we do have another question, but before we get to that one, I just want to mention something that was on the chat. Judy states that you might be eligible for a top-up from EI if your hours are reduced. And do you just want to comment on that, Lavardo?
Okay, so the top-up options tend to vary depending on your place of work. So for example, there are individuals, even if they go on EI because they might be supervisor, manager, or their contractual agreement from a union, everyone's situation is different. So I'm sure that could be relevant for someone, but in order to find out if your situation is that way, I would reach out to your employer or Service Canada to find out the actual situation. Because when it comes to employment, there are a variety of options out there.
And would that be the same for the relief fund? Someone that was saying that you might still qualify for the relief fund if your hours are reduced. You need to reach out with your employer and find out.
I would still say you can reach out to CRA, which is Revenue Canada from that standpoint. But according to the literature, they said zero. However, you never know, call, and they might change because once a large percentage of Canadians, for example, start to advocate or lobby and say, you know what, I'm not down to zero, but I'm literally only working maybe an hour a day and it cannot sustain me. And then things can change. So this is not written in stone. I'm just taking information as of Friday and basically relating it to you. Certain things will remain the same. Certain things will change, but we want to ensure that we have what I call is what is current information that we have. But for any specifics, please reach out to CRA or your employer or Service Canada, and then you can get information that might be different for yourself.
So ask, and then you'll find out if you shall receive. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to take the hand of Elder Donald McIntyre. Donald, you are unmuted. Please go ahead.
Okay. This is in our church. There's a young family with a young baby. The husband or the father started working in October. No, sorry, November. He was laid off this past Friday. What is he eligible for?
In terms of employment insurance?
Yes, or even the CERB.
Okay. So if he's a taxpayer of Canada, so the person is a resident of Canada?
Yes. Reset. Well, yes.
Okay, and he has a social insurance number?
Yes, he does. He's employed.
Okay, because he lost his job, I'll clear up the CERB first. He will receive the same payments as anyone else.
Okay.
In this case, because if he started working in last November, of course, because of COVID-19, he didn't have the opportunity to file his taxes yet, or I'm assuming even if he did, he worked last year as well. And however, for EI, that might be different. So they're starting off everyone, for example, if he had not applied for EI as of yet.
At this point, he was wondering if he qualified for EI.
Okay, so what I would tell him is contact Service Canada or his workplace, his employer, and start from there, or directly there. And then based on the hours, because it's an hour qualification and how much funds you put in will tell you how much you will get. So that's what employment insurance is all about from that standpoint. And it says here between 420 to 700 insurable hours in the last 52 weeks will enable you to be eligible.
But he definitely qualifies.
All right, that's the minimum.
So he definitely qualifies.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So he'll receive that first for up to 16 weeks. If this particular situation continues to be the same, thereafter, it does not disqualify him for qualifying for EI if he does meet the minimum hour requirements. And he can go beyond there. So he can apply for both, but he will not receive them concurrently. Right. CERB first, EI thereafter.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we take the next hand, I want to share a question from the chat. Someone was asking, is there any information for persons who are undocumented?
Unfortunately, I don't have any information. If someone is undocumented, you meaning someone is visiting Canada or they're in school?
I believe the person means that maybe they're in the process of getting the official documentation, but they don't have it yet. Is there anything for a person working towards that status of becoming a Canadian, but they're not fully, they don't have all the full papers yet?
Good question. I will Revenue Canada or Immigration Canada in this case, the two entities that will intersect in this situation. Immigration Canada definitely in terms of their status. Do they have a temporary SIN number? When it will be applicable? And also contact Revenue Canada as well and find out if they qualify. Okay. Not everyone is gonna be painted with the same brush. However, if you're in a unique situation, I would say reach out to the relevant government agencies and ask them the question on a case-by-case basis if you know you don't fall into one of the general scenarios that we're talking about.
Okay, thank you. And before we take the next question, just want to remind you all that we are actually recording this session. So we're going to have that, make that available to you through the website. We don't have an exact date yet, but we will try to get that for this week. So just, I really appreciate your participation, and it will be made available to all that want to hear it again. So we'll take the next question, and that's coming from Pauline Christian. And Pauline, I've just, oops, hang on. I'm just unmuting you. You may go ahead, please.
Thank you, Pastor. Also, thank you, Levardo. That was an amazing presentation.
Thank you.
So proud of you. One area I'm asking about is what do you have, or what does the government have available for small business owners and charities, like the church or schools that are considered business charity, small business owners in our church, contract workers? What is available to those to that sector?
Yeah, good question. According to the literature, because I fall into one of those categories as well, they're basically dealing with individuals that are employed and self-employed from this standpoint. However, they are working on measures and various regulations to come up with solutions from a business standpoint. I know there are various grants and relief directly from business owners, because you provide employment for individuals. That's in a different sector and a different domain. But the CERB is directly pertained to individuals that were contract, self-employed, more of an employed demographic. However, based on the literature, they will, within this coming week or the next week, be coming up with other measures and financial relief for small business owners, nonprofit, and charities as well. Certain materials are out there, but I basically provided garnered information on an individual basis. So I will make a note of it, and a presentation can be forthcoming as well as it pertains to small, medium, and large business owners, charities as well.
Right. So nothing on the $40,000 protected loan that small business owners can get at the banks,
I'm sure
and the $10,000 forgivable after 2022.
I didn't gather the material on that. I did it more on an individual basis. But what I can do, because I know materials is out there, information is out there, but it's still developing. And but I can do a separate presentation on that and get the relevant information and put it out there and have a session directly for the demographic that you're talking about. But I basically garnered the information for individuals that are mainly employed from this standpoint, and then we can have a separate session for that.
For business owners, okay, and charities. All right.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we're still open for questions. So again, if you're calling by phone, it's *9 to raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, you can press the raise your hand button, and I will see that, and we can take your questions. We've had some great questions, and it looks like we have some follow-up features as well. One on small business, and as well as people that are undocumented or in the process of getting their permanent status. Those might be two very valuable topics to follow up on in our next session.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions? This is your time. *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom app, and we'll be glad to take them and answer them as best as we can. Again, we will have this session recorded. It is being recorded, and we will make it available on the website as soon as we can, so you can even have other individuals that may have received value from this. They can come to the website and listen to it again. Well, it looks like there may be, oh, there's one other question. Somebody from Ajax Seventh-day Adventist Church. We're unmuting you now. You may proceed.
Hi, everyone. I'm showing up as Ajax Seventh-day Adventist Church. This is actually Lance Flash. I'm the stewardship coordinator over there, and I was really impressed with this initiative that you've taken as Apple Creek to give this information to your members. We at Ajax Church will also be doing that for the Ajax members on Wednesday at 8 p.m. But the question I have for Livardo, great presentation, was you made reference, and even Pauline made reference to this information that is on, I presume it's on the Canada website. Could you put the links that you're referring to? Because you referred to specific actual questions from the fact that was generated out of Friday's press conference. Could you just list those hyperlinks maybe on your website or in the chat? And again, good job with your presentation. And I mean, the other churches, I'm expecting that they should look to support their members in the same way, but I believe this is what's needed at this time.
Thank you, Lance. And noted, we will include that information on the website as it pertains to the questions that were asked. But thank you so much as well. And all the best on your initiative for your church as well.
Amen.
I want to thank you for your questions. Before we close, I want to just make sure if you have a question, again, dial *69 on your cell phone and raise your hand in the Zoom app. We want to make sure we don't want to leave if there's any burning questions left. You can also put it in the chat as well, and we're picking those up as well.
So if we don't have any questions, I can wrap up, and what we can do is have takeaways in regards to some of the questions that came from the floor. And if individuals also complete the survey, once again, that's on our website, so we can hear from you and feel and know how you're feeling at this time, and so we can address as well as design relevant content for you during this time. We are here for you as your church, as your stewardship department. We care, and we are family. So we will do our best to ensure that we all navigate these times and come out on the other end as gold tried in the fire.
And before we close off with a prayer, I just want to thank our stewardship department, of which Livardo is a member. We've done a fantastic job. You guys have done a fantastic job putting this together and really sensing the needs of our members in a timely way. If you have future questions, anyone online, you can reach out to the stewardship department at AC Stewardship, so Apple Creek, but AC Stewardship @gmail.com. The team will be able to take those questions as well to be able to help get back to you. And of course, we're going to have information on our website. So please encourage people, especially during these times, to reach out to the website to get more information. And we do have one person, so let's take their question before we start to close. Oh, hang on for 1 second, just lost you there. So it's Kiddo, and you're unmuted, please go ahead. Person whose name is Kiddo, Kiddo, you can speak. Last call, Kiddo. All right, so we're gonna mute you, and then we will.
I'll wrap up, and then we can pray,
Yes.
Pastor. Okay.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
as a takeaway and a summary, as individuals of faith, just wanted to reinforce 3 of the key points. To everything, there is a season. God saves us in the storm, not just from the storm. A crisis is an opportunity to show on the outside what we believe on the inside. And my final point is, the only thing that is permanent in this life is God and his promises. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to connect as family, friends, and of those that are tuning in online that may be visiting as well. We want to have the mindset that you say we should have, not one of fear, but one of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, so that during these times we can carry others on our shoulder. We thank you for life. We thank you for health. We thank you for being partners in your ministry. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all for participating, and may you have a blessed afternoon.